Good afternoon. I'm Tara Olson, a Naples, Florida real estate broker, and one of the questions I get most often is, why is everyone moving to Florida right now? Yes, the obvious reasons are real: sunshine, beaches, lifestyle, and no state income tax. But those explanations barely scratch the surface. Florida isn't just a destination anymore. It's become a strategic base, and if you're considering a relocation, second home, or long-term investment, understanding why it matters far more than the headlines state. A recent conversation with a client from New Jersey made this clear. She owns a business, her husband works remotely, and they were weighing Florida against several other warm weather states. She told me, I don't want to chase a trend. And instead of sending listings, I asked, a different question. What are you trying to accomplish with this move? Asking the key questions to understand what somebody's needs are. Within minutes, the answer surfaced. They weren't chasing lifestyle. They were reducing risk, increasing control, and planning for stability over the next decade. That's what's driving Florida's growth. Not hype, but structural decision-making. Florida is attracting working capital, not just retirees. One of the biggest misconceptions is that people are moving to Florida to slow down. In reality, many are still actively building businesses, investing capital, and working at high levels. Florida is attracting executives who can live anywhere, founders entering their next chapter, physicians and professionals seeking tax efficiency, and investors who want predictability and planning. Remote work didn't create this shift, but it accelerated it by removing geographic friction. People aren't relocating for lifestyle alone. They're repositioning their base. When that happens, the buyer pool changes, development patterns change, and capital flows follow. That's how long-term demand forms. It's not just taxes, it's control and predictability. Florida's lack of state income tax matters, but it's not the whole story. What people are really buying is control over cash flow, long-term planning, and the rules that shape their financial life. In many high-tax states, costs rise while regulatory certainty declines. Business planning becomes harder, estate planning shifts, forecasting feels unstable. So Florida, something increasingly rare, predictability, a place where people feel they can plan forward without constantly bracing for policy changes. That's why Florida has quietly become a safe harbor state for many high net worth households. Florida can grow, but has real supply constraints. Florida's popularity often raises the question, won't it get overbuilt? The answer depends on the location. In premium coastal and lifestyle markets, land is finite and largely built out. Growth isn't coming from a sprawl, it's coming from redevelopment, infill projects, boutique communities, and rising replacement costs. That's why you see older homes replaced with modern coastal construction, smaller condo projects near lifestyle corridors, and communities being refined rather than expanded. When supply is constrained, replacement costs rise, and that creates a stronger floor under long-term values, particularly in high-demand locations. Insurance and climate are filtering demand, not eliminating it. Insurance has become a more prominent factor in Florida, especially along the coast. For some buyers, it's a barrier. For others, it's simply part of the planning process. As costs rise, marginal buyers are filtered out first. What remains is a more qualified, equity-driven buyer pool. Demand doesn't disappear, it concentrates. That shift increases demand for resilient properties, newer construction, impact windows, strong elevations, storm-ready design. Buyers are prioritizing confidence and durability, not just aesthetics. So this is why well-located, well-built properties continue to perform even as the markets normalize. This isn't a trend, it's a structural shift. Florida's growth isn't a cyclical hype, it's a structural reallocation of people, capital, and primary residences. That kind of movement builds momentum, ecosystems, and long-term demand. Not every Florida property will outperform. This is a state of micro markets. Strategy matters, location matters, and product type matters. The smartest buyers aren't asking, should I move to Florida? They're asking, where in Florida aligns with how I want to live and what kind of asset am I buying? What this means for buyers right now? It's a bit simple. The most successful buyers aren't chasing the market. They're designing their next decade. And start with clarity. Is this a primary lifestyle move, a second home and wealth strategy, or an investment-driven purchase? Choose your lifestyle first, then the house. Buyers who, I guess I should say, make better decisions, avoid overpaying for the wrong features, and buy into areas positioned for durability, not just popularity. Final take, Florida isn't booming because it's trendy. It's booming because it works financially, strategically, and long-term. When you understand that you stop chasing headlines and start making intentional decisions that hold up over time, if you want help choosing the right lifestyle corridor, property type, or strategy for your goals, I'd be happy to help. So you can reach out to me at 239-357-7499 or email me at info@terrellolson.com. And don't forget to follow me on social media at Terrell Olson Realtor for local insights, renovation guidance, and behind the scenes tours. If this helped you, make sure to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss an episode. Until next time, I'm Terrell Olson, helping you navigate the Southwest Florida real estate market. Have a great afternoon.